Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co-host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to us. We are everywhere where there are podcasts. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the extremely wacky and heartfelt world of animation. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And this is going to be an interesting episode. We've got reviews for the latter half of season 3 of Jellystone and the new Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up. And we also have one last movie that screened at this year's New York International Film Festival, Totto-Chan, The Little Girl at the Window. But before we get to the tragedy, let's talk about some comedy.
So yeah, we finally got the last half of season 3 of Jellystone, where I'm hoping this isn't the last of it. And we'll see what happens because I don't really have too much to say about this second half of Jellystone. It's completely absurd, just like the rest of the show. It finds new ways to continue to be so chaotic in its comedy. And even though they have basically gone up to the mid 2000s in terms of like what Cartoon Network has made in the past, even some references to the early 2010s of Cartoon Network's lineup, they still find ways to use the older characters from the old Hanna-Barbera Ruby Spears lineup. Because I've said in the past, once you realize that Ruby Spears production shows were basically ripping off or copying the work they did at Hanna-Barbera and vice versa, it was going to be an eventuality sooner or later that Ruby Spears properties would end up in the hands of Hanna-Barbera.
All of them eventually ending up at Warner Brothers because, yeah.
Corporate gluttony is so much fun, y'all. Ay. But when you're a kid, it's like, who cares? It's just more cartoons. These are just fun old cartoons. And then, well, I think let's just really talk about the crossover episode because this was the big, hyped up 22-minute episode from this second batch of episodes where they promised that the old school Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters would collide into the world of the 90s and early to mid 2000s and somewhat 2010 era of Cartoon Network. And at first, it's like, it's kind of cool to see Billy and Mandy or Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls mix into the world of Hanna-Barbera, which all this does is remind me of the conversation Gendy had with Craig McCracken, because I think it was Craig McCracken that told Gendy, make the shows that you thought your childhood had, or something similar to that, where it's like, you feel like you have nostalgia for older cartoons and it's like, oh man, I used to watch these all the time as a kid, and then you rewatch them as an adult and it's like, uh that's essentially what happened with the 90s era. It was very punk rebel spirits with how they crafted these new shows. But honestly, now that we've seen them interact with one another, and maybe it helps with the more modern chaotic comedy of Jellystone, they're not all that different from one another.
They really aren't. And I think that's what makes this crossover. It makes it fun to watch because this is really just what it felt like watching Cartoon Network in the 90s and the early 2000s. This is basically what Cartoon Network City was. Those promos in like the early to mid 2000s.
Oh man, that was so cool. I wish I didn't give up on those.
Same.
It was like the end of an era before they Cartoon Network jumped the shark and tried to do live action stuff. Before then, we had the big boom of a revived animated era of TV shows from all over. And I liked the interactions and reasons why some of the 90s Cartoon Network characters found themselves in Jellystone. Dexter finally wanted to get rid of Dee Dee. The Powerpuff Girls finally wanted to get rid of Mojo Jojo. And in usual nature of the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy, they just got so fed up with Billy's idiocy. So they just tossed him out and then realized, oh, dang, he had the remote.
My favorite part was when Cindy is watching all of the backstories because they don't want to waste their swirling into flashbacks.
Oh, yeah. And then when they all start arriving into the world of Jellystone, everyone's just like, I'm here for my sister. We're here for our villain. We're here just to get the remote back. You can keep Billy. And it was a lot of fun to see the voice actors return and reprise their roles for the certain characters. Granted, you can kind of tell which actors like their voices aged the best
Oh yeah.
compared to some of the other ones. Like Dee Dee definitely sounded older, and I mean that's what's going to happen. Like I'm not bothered by it. It's just an observation that you're going to make when you have grown up through the 90s Cartoon Network to now. And to hear like the Powerpuff Girls, like Buttercup and Blossom still sound okay, but you can still hear some strain in Bubbles' voice. Honestly, I think E.G. Daily sounds like her voice for Buttercup sounds like the one that has aged the least. Probably alongside Richard Horvitz's Billy and Mojo Jojo.
Those are the two I think sounded pretty much ripped right from their original series. In fact, when I saw the clip of the Billy and Mandy section, I thought for a split second that was just an episode of the show until I picked up the context clues. This was before I watched the episode. And then I realized, oh, they're making jokes about what's going to happen later in the episode.
It was nice to hear Rob Paulson as Major Glory, even if it was just for that small little bit. And one of my favorite background gags that absolutely would happen is Mordecai and Rigby stealing a car. They didn't really dive into the 2010 characters. I think the only ones that showed up were some of the Adventure Time characters. Ben 10 was there, and then like the regular show cast. Most of it was still like Dexter's Lab, Samurai Jack, Powerpuff Girls, a little bit of Johnny Bravo. And even though they were using animation rigs for the characters, they did a good job being like the thick outlines of the characters from their respective shows.
They all stayed pretty consistently on model.
And I liked the idea that Cindy and Mojo Jojo were going to get shipped together. And it's just like, man, all that somebody needs is someone to listen to them, like to connect with, to fall in love with. And
Exactly.
I wish it went a little further with the interactions of like some of the other characters, like with Jellystone. It made me wish they did like a whole hour long special instead of.
Instead of just 22 minutes. I'm thinking the same thing. This really needed more than just one 22-minute episode. This honestly could have been like a full you know how direct to video movies are usually 75 minutes?
Yeah.
This could have been that.
it just feels like they started off really strong with the crossover, and then it just turned into a fight at the end of old cartoon characters versus new ones. And not that it never wasn't entertaining after a while, and I think this is just a case of I'm tired of the crossover multiverse thing now, since it only really worked with Spider-Man, and that's because their movies and that their writing was based around the whole fact that it was Spider-Man going across the Spider-Verse. Here, it was just like here's some comedic antics and how the characters from the 90s series felt more loved in Jellystone than in their own respective universes. And then it was just, oh, now they're fighting. The appeal to me of Jellystone is not the action, it's the comedy. It's the unexpected punchlines and references that come our way. Like when they do the whole C Lab reference, which C Lab was based off of an old Hanna-Barbera show, but they still found a way to mix in the elements of the old show and the chaos of the Adult Swim series. And even referenced the fact that C Lab exploded every episode. Or like the wedding ceremony being all like, and I married myself down here. Yes, it's allowed down here. Don't judge me. Shut up. The crossover needed more of that instead of just one big clash. And even though the show was tangentially aware of the fact that it was going to end that way, especially with Yogi yelling, like your favorite old cartoons versus your favorite new cartoons fighting now. I wanted to see more interactions. That's really what I wanted to see. I wanted
Same.
to see how they would adapt 90s and 2000s Cartoon Network with Jellystone's current vibe. In a way, I want a fourth season where they kind of do that now. Even though I understand why they haven't done it until this point, because it would honestly take away from the fact that Jellystone would lose its charm of using the chaotic lineup of Hanna-Barbera original characters and clone copycat characters with the more obvious fan favorite 90s era cartoon characters that we grew up with.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it wouldn't still be fun because it was cool to see the kids next door pop in the background, but man, they would have fit so well into the Jellystone vibe. It's like wasted opportunity. And yet, I still had a great time with this second batch. Dana Snyder is carrying so much of this show with his amazing voice work. Like the voice cast in general is really good. But Dana Snyder is like the MVP of that show.
He is. He's whether it's Snagglepuss or I'm pretty sure he's a lot of I'm trying to think what other characters he plays.
He plays a little scuba boy with a German accent.
Oh yeah,
And
that's definitely him.
and I I love the like how his mom has all these wise sayings, and yeah, he'll say them in the most like traumatic way possible of like it's like just like my mama always says, love is lovely. I liked seeing how they were continuously adapting more and more of the characters into the like equation. Like Thundar was a barber, which I mean, yeah, if you're not gonna have them or do like some kind of weird 2011 Thundercats reboot style adventure with Thundar, just give him a barbershop. The chaos and love between Doggy Daddy and Augie Doggy is so fun. Doggy Daddy is just like the most overprotective parent ever.
He is.
I mean, there's a reason why Carl H. Greenblatt, the creator of the show, is like a good chunk of these characters, especially Peter Potamus with his constant anime references, Or the weird twist that Captain Caveman was also Barney Rubble.
That was a weird twist, but I like where the episode went.
It was kind of eye-opening that, like, yes, while I still am a fan of the old school Flintstones, Fred was a jerk.
He was.
And I love the in memoriam section for him at the end. But it made me also wish that they did more with the Flintstones. Like, even Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy had a whole episode with Fred Flintstone causing chaos in their city. But I did love the episode of like the snow rodeo or snow
Oh,
odeo
oh, yes, Snowdodio.
and the barfing snowman and Mildew Wolf being the most pathetic person in existence with a great voice performance by Bernardo de Paula. It's just like, oh, look, I can finally go down this hill again with snow. Oh.
Mildew gets great moments in this, but he also is the inciting incident for one of the more bizarre episodes where Cindy gives her patients yogi juice.
Yeah, where they try to give Yogi's charisma to all the characters in Jellystone to be more confident in themselves, only to get addicted to it like a drug. And I would say that the theme song episode was going to be my least favorite because it was just like, okay, I get it. All the characters need theme songs and such. Until the stipulation of every time you open a door, your theme song plays.
That and the one that broke me was Yogi's theme.
Oh gosh, Yogi's theme that just tortured him like it was a like the Raven poem. Then when we get to the Herculoids, which I was really excited to see the Herculoids until they were like turned into redneck marinara sauce makers, which I am sure they were parodying like moonshine crafters. Why else would they do the whole marinara sauce thing?
Oh yeah.
But they were very funny with how they were focused on their muscularity. And then that one scene where they thought they could escape the Herculoids, and then the son Herculoids is like, there they are, Dad, acting casual. I also have to give a shout out to Diedrich Bader as Race Bannon during the Snow Odeo episode, where they don't use a lot of the Johnny Quest characters, which you think they would have, but it was a lot of fun to see Race Bannon, who in most Johnny Quest stuff is like the action hero, the bodyguard. So to see him get turned into a conspiratorial nut was a lot of fun. Or at least it led to a lot of good jokes.
hmm
Will say I was happy to see more of the superheroes of like Blue Falcon and Space Ghost because, recently we lost the late great George Lowe, the voice of Space Ghost, or at least the people our age would know more of. Because if you were like our parents' age, you would recognize Space Ghost and Birdman with the voice of Gary Owens. It was just nice to see them bring in that Adult Swim charm to this version of Space Ghost. The whole inciting incident of Space Ghost wanting bigger meatballs. So he was going to magnetize and bring a bunch of meteors to Jellystone so he could have the biggest meatballs around. And that line read of save some meat for daddy is such an Adult Swim coast to coast line read.
Oh, it is.
It was just nice to hear a little bit more of George Lowe because that was very like we don't have many of the original Adult Swim alumni left.
We have lost quite a bit of them over the years.
Like the guy who does the Moltar stuff and who was the original host of Toonami. passed away like almost a decade ago. And, or maybe, yeah, it might almost be a decade. That's, oof. And now that we lost George Lowe, who was a huge part of why Space Ghost Coast to Coast was great. There's a reason why like some people started using clips of when Space Ghost interacted with Birdman. And Birdman's just like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be dead. And then George Lowe just drops the most aggressive insult to Birdman of like, it's like, and you're supposed to be dumpster diving for scraps, you 6-piece chicken McNobody. And it's like, whoa, calm down, man. Jeez. But that's what I like about Jellystone. It's like a great amalgamation of the type of humor and style that really identifies Cartoon Network with what kind of shows they had. Even though the crossover episode itself ends on a very either foreshadowing, haunting ending, or it was just the staff getting mad at David Zaslav because there's always a reason to be angry at him.
Yeah.
Where like Mojo Jojo and I'll Miss You Too, and I'm just also worried about the state of Cartoon Net before the TV shuts off. And it's like, well, knowing what happened with Cartoon Network recently, because David Zaslav is a terrible, terrible person, it's bittersweet. And I hope this isn't the actual end. I want to see more of this, and I really hope David Zaslav gets the boot sometime soon. Like, nobody likes him. He is probably the most hated person in Hollywood right now. And I don't know what it will take to get that stupid man out of here. It's just frustrating beyond belief.
Yeah, it is frustrating, but the scarier thought is that outside of like online film spaces, that he is probably more liked in the industry than outside. That's what has me worried that he'll be around longer than we want him to be.
How do you keep your job when you have a year like 2023 where you lost upwards towards $1 billion because you thought releasing something like The Flash in theaters was a good idea? And that weird, oh, that Robert De Niro movie coming out,
Oh
or
yeah, that's coming out. Well, it will be out by the time this episode is up.
the story around that, where it was just a whole bunch of weird rich man nepotism of why that movie got made. It's like the exact nightmare story you don't want. Like it's something like Caddyshack 2 in a way, where a coked out, way out of his league executive made a bunch of bad decisions, and then it was only too late where he was like, shoot, this was a bad idea, and we are way too deep to just close it all off and such. Because when you just let people create stuff, when you have people who run these companies make stuff like Jellystone or The Day the Earth Blew Up, the response is so delightful. And part of me wonders if just like people outside of our film spaces actually care. Like, do they want to see the creativity on screen, or do they just want to see everything get sequelized and then just run into the ground? I don't know, man. It's bittersweet to talk about this, and like we'll have a more positive outcome with the day the Earth blew up, but still, WBD isn't just not a great space right now, especially with the fact that, and we'll probably talk more about this with the day the Earth blew up, but with the recent removal of all old classic Looney Tunes getting removed from their service because they want to focus on adult and family entertainment. And that Looney Tunes, some of the most adult and vulgar comedy you can find,
Hmm.
is considered kids' entertainment. These people running these companies are so friggin' unserious about how they want to run things. They just want the money and they don't want to spend the money on anything that could be offered to a wide variety of audiences.
They are
Be
so afraid of risk. They will go to ridiculous lengths to stretch a dollar when risk is how Hollywood became Hollywood.
exactly. If there was no one taking risks in Hollywood, like if the rest of the world was like that, we wouldn't have something as wonderful and humanly crafted as Totto-Chan, the girl in the window. Let's talk about that. So, when we were doing our, like the last episode, we said we were only able to cover two films from the New York International Children's Film Festival. And then, like karma or some weird twist of fate, we got an email saying, "Hey, here is the screener for Totto-Chan, one of the probably the one Japanese film playing at the festival this year." Like it's based off of the life of Tetsuko Kuroyanagi, who I think also did the narration for this movie at the very end. And it's directed by and written by Shinosuke Yakuwa, who his name is not as big in the animation world, or at least towards Japanese animation fans, only because the only thing he's done that is also worth noting outside of being an animator and such are some Doraemon films. And if you're a modern day animation fan and you're asking yourself, what the bleep is Doraemon? Then you proved my point.
Yeah.
Since Doraemon is just one of those super classic grandfathered franchises, it's so odd because it's one of those franchises that never quite took off in America. It's not that like there's any things stopping you from understanding them like the franchise or anything like that, but America never quite got it. It's like in the same vein of the Osomatsu franchise, where we're now just getting the franchise recognition like over here in the States, but most people would probably know the Osomatsu franchise more for the current iteration of the series than the old 60s, I think 60s, and 80s cartoon. But knowing that Shinosuke was behind the Doraemon films, or at least three of them, it makes sense of how he crafted this adaptation and story. This engaging series of childhood recollections tells of an unconventional school in Tokyo during World War II that combined learning with fun, freedom, and love. The school had old railroad cars for classrooms and it was run by an extraordinary man, its founder and headmaster, Susaku Kobayashi, who deeply valued children's independence and who was a firm believer in freedom of expression and activity. We follow Totto-Chan, who is a new member of this school, as she bonds with the other kids and enjoys a mostly normal childhood until it starts to cross over into the early to mid part of World War II. And at first, it's a very gradual reveal of the World War II stuff happening. And this is where this movie really shines. Not that once it introduces the World War II stuff more into the plot, it gets worse. It's more how this movie captures childhood wonder, love, and support with three different characters: Toto-chan, her classmate, Yasuaki. This story works between three characters: There's Totto-Chan, who is like just the most optimistic, friendliest child you could think of. Very active, very supportive, friendly, is always there to be a friend to the other children, and is a very likable protagonist. At first, you may find her childlike whimsy annoying, but it helps to have her kindness when the shoe drops, or in this case, when Japan gets firebombed later on.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the characters that I was not expecting to love as much as I did is Mr. Kobayashi, the principal of this alternative school.
This dude is really from the second you meet him, you just think, oh, these kids are in great hands. Because he comes across like a Mr. Rogers figure where he knows exactly what's best for these children. He's just a great personality. He's very into music and just letting the kids express themselves however they feel they need to.
He is the most inclusive, kind-hearted man you can think of. He is the Japanese Mr. Rogers. And he reminds me of the principal of my elementary school because early on, when my sister and I were young, we were diagnosed with ADHD. And it, like, I'm not gonna lie, no, it was tough learning and socializing with other kids in like a more public, normal school setting. And we went to this amazing school that really was like this school that Mr. Kobayashi made. He is the most patient man that I think anyone could ever ask for a principal. He's not just doing it for the money or the job. He founded this school to help kids who feel left out by society. And you see it right, like immediately when he interacts with Totto-Chan. He sits down with her, talks with her for hours. There's even like a great reaction moment from Totto-Chan's mom, like wondering why it's taking so long to see if she's going to get into the school or not. Otherwise, you see him just enjoy talking with the child, getting to know them, and having that one moment where Totto-Chan breaks her hyperactive, childlike wonder with wondering if she's broken or like a problem child because everyone calls her a troublemaker. Like her parents love her, but they're worried about her in a way that I'm not going to say it's full on, like, not great. They are good parents. They just did not have the same experience or know how that Mr. Kobayashi had. And how Kobayashi just tells her, it's like, no, you're a good girl. There's nothing wrong with you here. And the way that he makes sure that no kid feels left behind or is outed among the other kids is great. He never crumbles or backsteps on his beliefs. The way he makes sure or tries to be as supportive as he can to some of the other kids, like the other third of this movie, Yasuaki, a young boy with polio, who feels ostracized, even though the kids like aren't mean to him. Yasuaki chooses to avoid interacting with the other kids until Totto-Chan meets him and helps him feel more in company with the other kids because the other kids would stand up with one another and such. And Totto-Chan wants Yasuaki to feel included with everything. And it's great, even though sometimes it could veer into that those stories where there's a sick character and one who and like a normal child and the normal person learns to live life after the child with the sickness or character with the sickness passes away.
I'm glad this movie avoids like those kind of cliches.
It still happens, but they're executed in a way that doesn't feel so insulting to the kid with polio.
That's what I was gonna say. It just feels more grounded in some sort of emotional reality where it's not like the other kids are ostracizing him. He's ostracizing himself until Toto-Chan comes along and is like, "You're my friend, and we're gonna do things together, and it's gonna be great."
A lot of time is spent with the characters and kids growing up and learning to live life, even as the war starts to creep in on their lives. They all still try to, the adults at the school make sure the kids feel safe and have their minds taken off of the fact that the war is starving everyone else. So, or like everything is getting, all the resources and such, and jobs are having to be put on hold so the men in the country can go to war for Japan for another just reminder of just how terrible war can be.
Hmm.
Like there's that moment where Toto-Chan and Yasuaki go to where Toto-Chan's dad works as a violinist in an orchestra, and the composer is a ex-German citizen who lives in Japan, and he gets visually upset when the pride of the other musicians is like, yeah, we'll destroy America and England, when the the conductor is visually unhappy with that notion because of how the war has torn his country apart and how it's going to do that here. What's great is that it never truly becomes too dark with the war creeping in until like the very end.
Yeah, like something that this movie does really well is it like smoothly transitions you from like the bubbly optimism of the first half to the tragedy towards the end. And they do a really good job of like slowly easing you into all of these tragedies. Like, for example, Toto-Chan gets a little chick from festival.
The chick becomes like a companion piece to Yasuaki's journey of the parents don't want Toto-Chan to have the chick because the chick is considered weak. And Yasuaki is having to essentially compete with a world that sees him as weak. Even though Toto-Chan, Kobayashi, and the rest of the school treat him as one of their own and ignoring and not treating his disability as a hindrance. He's just another kid alongside the other kids. And there's a scene where Toto-Chan beats Yasuaki in a arm wrestling match where you get the sense, like, do you think Toto-Chan threw the arm wrestling match so Yasuaki could feel good about himself? I think she did, but she doesn't want to admit it because, like, at first you think it's like, oh, this will make him feel good, but he doesn't feel good because he's mad that Toto-Chan feels, oh, this poor kid with polio. Let me make him feel good by letting him win an arm wrestling match. It's pride on the line.
Hmm. I respect the film for having a scene like that where it's like, no, no, no. I don't want to be patronized. Treat me just as I am.
It's great how the story is just childhood wonder and love, and how that is very important to keep intact. Because as the war starts creeping into the lives of everyone, like Toto-Chan's dad having to go to war after essentially saying like, hey, you can't be a violinist anymore, you have to fight for us. Yet Toto-Chan still finds a means to keep going, even when you see like the school get firebombed, Kobayashi is not upset. Like on the inside, he obviously is, but he's also like, you know what? When we rebuild again, I can't wait to see what the next kind of school I make is. And it's it's such a human story. And in an era right now where so many industry leeches and parasites who run all of these entertainment industries are trying to use AI or generative AI slop to replace human ingenuity, creativity, and emotions. It is such a good reminder of what human crafted stories and experiences feel like. And honestly, this makes for a very good companion piece or a extremely depressing triple feature with In This Corner of the World and My Miracle because they're all World War II stories told from the perspectives of children. And they also tell stories of just like how all the characters have to grow up. And I like the animation here. It is a lovely looking movie. Just great like color work. It all looks like honestly like colored pencil looking or like watercolor
Oh,
uh
yeah. I you get that a lot in the dream sequences when the style shifts to something more
dreamlike.
dreamlike. Yeah.
Yeah, those moments are great. Unfortunately, we only get like at the very least two of them where Totto-Chan first arrives in one of the train car classrooms, and when they go into the pool where Toto is like, no, Yasuaki, you're not sitting out of having fun and going into the swimming pool with the rest of us. It's just lovely work, just outstanding visual wonder, and how no machine can craft something like that. This is all human made. It is not something a cold, heartless machine can ever recreate.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like there was that one idiot on Twitter or I think on Blue Sky who was like, me and my daughter like Studio Ghibli stuff. So we shoved a bunch of Studio Ghibli prompts into an AI generated thing and they're so delusional with how that they think that looks good. It is heartless, mediocre slop. I don't know
Hmm.
if you saw that video, but
I saw it. It was the best way I can describe that is plastic.
it just artificially made. None of the work that goes into Ghibli, like Ghibli style work, and just like Japanese animation is so different from how most animation is done elsewhere that AI cannot recreate the small human touches that go into animating the performances of the characters in stuff like Ghibli or Toto-Chan. And to see that loser think his work looks good, I know people want to be respectful and not send a harassment campaign towards these people, but I'm sorry. People who market and display their art, quote unquote, that was vomited out of a generative AI machine deserve to be run off the internet.
That in and of itself is disrespectful towards the medium of, well, animation, yes, but also just art in general. It's like to call AI generated garbage art is, to quote Miyazaki himself, an insult to life itself.
I remember when so many people thought he was being way too mean to that one guy who was like, we're going to replace humans with machines in animation. It was, oh, look at that. Despite Miyazaki being a cranky old grandpa at times, was absolutely in the right. You dense people owe him an apology and to all the artists who have lost their jobs because of generative AI. There's no excuse. But anyway, it's all the more reason to love stuff like Totto-Chan, the little girl at the window. And from what I can tell, they streamlined a few things to make this a more straightforward experience, but it still works. It's very much a slice of life as we watch these little vignettes unravel. And I like the little kids that are in the classroom. You can tell who they are as individuals, how they act and how they emote. I also was very interested in the design choice where the designs by Shizue Kaneko made them look more like, and I mean this as a compliment, like those lovely porcelain dolls.
With the rosy cheeks and the eyes and just their whole being so expressive really locks you into these characters.
Lovely stuff. Like at first you might get a little distracted by how expressive Toto-chan's face is and just how emotive all the kids are. But at the end of the day, it results in a very visually distinct movie that stands out from just looking like other anime or an animated film trying to look like a Ghibli movie. And I know Toho distributed this movie in Japan, so I'm going to assume at one point or another, G Kids is going to bring this one over. And I hope they do. This is a wonderful movie. And I would hate for this to be one of the films that gets locked away in Japan because despite the fact we have about seven or so different anime distributors, they all said no to bringing over this movie.
This one needs to be seen by a wider audience because it's just gorgeous.
I am constantly flummoxed by the fact that like all these anime distributors are willing to bring over the worst crap. Like all the boring, mediocre harems and isekais and fantasy shows because of reasons. And yet they struggle to invest time and money into bringing over the movies. I get it. They get more money and more content with TV shows, but it feels like it's a failed investment if no one cares about the show. At least a movie is a one and done investment that you can bring over, dub, release it in theaters because Japanese movies are making money like in theaters in the States like right now. So get take advantage of that. Plus with G Kids, if G Kids brings it over, which they probably will, like come on, y'all went out to see The Boy and the Heron, you can go see this movie too. People are showing up for Japanese animated films now. It's not like back in the day where you just sent them straight to DVD. Toto-Chan is just so good. Highly recommended if it ever gets a proper release. I'm so glad we got to see this one
Same.
because we now get to the last movie that we finally get to talk about. It has sucked not being able to talk about The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, until now. For those that know me, I went to Animation as Film. And last year, while I felt like it was a lighter weight festival, since it just seemed like there were less movies and more filmmaking classes and previews of things, one of the highlights was that it was the first time a mass majority of people were able to see The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, directed by Peter Brownsgard and written, and it's going to sound like it's a lot of people because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11 writers for this movie. Think of it as the different storyboard artists helping to craft the overall story because of the multitude of gags.
This isn't necessarily written like a traditional three act structure film. Like it has all it has like the three act structure, but the storyboard artists are getting as much say in the story than like an actual writer.
Well, it's like a lot of the jokes need proper storyboarding to work. If a joke is off, then that just ruins the whole joke. We've talked about this before and stuff like Tao Last Dungeon. Like, if that one character getting smacked into the wall by the Yandere princess was off by just a second, the joke wouldn't work.
Yeah, because timing is everything.
And that's why there are so many writers, but that's because you have amazing people like Michael Ruocco and Kevin Costello working on the different gags and jokes because this movie is filled to the brim with jokes, background jokes, foreground jokes, just gags upon gags upon gags. It's a very Mel Brooks experience. Whatever joke doesn't land, you have like 3 seconds before the next joke happens. And that's not even to say that there's no plot. There is a plot. Porky and Daffy, the classic animated odd couple, turn into unlikely heroes when their antics at a local bubblegum factory uncover a secret alien mind control plot. Against all odds, the two are determined to save their town and the world. That is, if they don't drive each other crazy in the process. I have to say, I am so mad to hear that not enough people are showing up to this movie because when I was at Animation is Film, we had a whole sold out theater filled to the brim with not only the writers, producers, and creatives that brought this movie to life, but the ideal audience. We
I
were
am
like,
frankly jealous that you got to see this in like the best atmosphere possible. Because I almost wasn't able to see this movie because the day I went to see it on a matinee, the screens were down. So I had to get a ticket for a later showing. I was like the only one in that theater, plus like maybe five other people.
it was the ideal audience to see something like this on the big screen. And of course, Eric Balza was there. And I did see a few YouTube influencers there, but mostly the pop culture kinds, the ones who only look at mainstream stuff and none of the stuff like that, what we do. Not that it was bad. It was honestly surreal to see people like Black Nerd Comedy. I literally sat next to him. I didn't make a big deal about it. I was like, oh, holy cow. Huh, neat. But it was not a shock to see him there. And it makes me hope that they're like, hey, this was really cool to see this one movie here at the theater. Like during this festival, maybe I'll come back and see all the other cool stuff. But, I highly doubt it will. What works about this movie is it's as serious as it needs to be. It is not as serious as a heart attack. It is as serious as like that one joke where Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd are old and Bugs tricks Elmer into going into the grave instead of him. He was like, "This is goodbye, friends. This is goodbye, farewell." And then he just act very suave and quick, sleight of hand, like gets out of the grave while Elmer Fudd sits down and waves goodbye to him while Bugs buries him.
Great gag.
And it's like that's the kind of tone that fits Looney Tunes. And like Looney Tunes had crass and adult jokes on top of just being outright bonkers. There are stories of people like Chaplin being like, man, I wish we could do what they do. Like, we're humans. We are held down by gravity and realistic limitations. You could do whatever you want with a cartoon character. And that's the mindset that they go with at this movie. It is just a cavalcade of jokes. And I don't think there is a greater example of this than the beginning of the movie where we see Daffy and Porky grow up.
Farmer Jim is
Or
probably
Jim.
the best example of like humans in the world of Looney Tunes. He's just like the greatest person. And the fact that he's in this universe, the one who raises Porky and Daffy and becomes like the person they look up to.
Yeah, the Mufasa reference at the end and such. So, if people are unaware, Farmer Jim is an entire parody of, some people may know it as clutch cargo animation, where it is nonstop still frames with a green screened mouth like over the the visuals. I honestly think like if you were a fan of The Incredibles, then you know you have seen the limited animation of the Incredible short that had Mr. Incredible and Frozone.
Oh, yeah, I remember that from the DVD bonus features.
That whole thing with Farmer Jim is making fun of Synchrovox technology. It is like the literal definition of, we only have $5. We got to make that $5 stretch out like $20. Because what you get with Synchrovox are highly stylized still frames with only the mouth moving, not the eyes, not the body. And it goes on. Like they never break the gag with Farmer Jim. Like when he's going off into the sunset, he is just hopping along like a South Park character. And there was a cut joke that, like, between his hopping off to the sunset, where the director talked about how they said, like, what if we just had Farmer Jim drown? And then, of course, they showed that joke to the higher ups, and they're like, you can't do that joke. It is not the first time Looney Tunes has been under fire for an incredibly dark joke. I mean, not that, if you're a Looney Tunes fan, you know about the censored 11, or the fact that so many cartoons back in the day got cut around or reworked because their endings were a little too dark.
Yeah,
But the fact that they took the energy and spirit of the zany Donald Duck era of Looney Tunes characters. I mean, honestly, as I say that they kept that joke out, but they still kept in the origin of how Porky stutters. Like the whole audience at my screening was just like, wow, I can't believe y'all let that joke in. So just the fact that Porky was able to talk normal at one point and then he got hit on the head with a vase. And you see Daffy like react like, oh, oops. It sounds so mean spirited, but the movie never is as mean as you think it's going to get when you see jokes like that.
it goes like right up until the line, but never crosses over.
It's like the Mel Brooks way of comedy. You go up to a personal belief point of, okay, I can't cross that line. And of course, every comedy creative is going to say the line is different, and that's true, and that's fine. Just don't be surprised if people push back if your line goes into some very not great territory. But the Bob Clampett era of Looney Tunes is such a great era to pull from for this and the more recent shorts, because it's just zany cartoon humor, surreal visuals and gags. Like, yes, I love my Chuck Jones stuff as much as anyone else, but you could, like, they needed to move on from that starting point, or in this case, go backwards to bring in a different era of Looney Tunes back to the spotlight.
That really works for this movie because They've combined like the pulpy 1950s sci-fi with Clampett's just zany aesthetic, and it just works really well for the story that they're trying to tell. Also, I'm still kind of perplexed by the fact that this is the first wholly original Looney Tunes animated movie that we've gotten in theaters.
It's amazing how it has taken decades for that to happen. And I know some people are going to be pedantic and say, like, well, what about the older movies from like the 60s, 70s, and 80s? And it's like, y'all know those are compilation movies, right?
Exactly.
They were based and built around already released shorts. And it was at a time period where Mel Blanc was nearing the end of his career as a voice actor, where you can tell the old voices and the new voices clashed. Those don't really count. And I know a lot of people have love for Space Jam and Back in Action, but it's still extremely insulting that Hollywood thought we could not deal with or comprehend an entire animated movie with just the Looney Tunes. We had to have human characters. That's why the most recent Space Jam sucked, because it really wasn't a Looney Tunes movie, or it just wasn't enough of a Looney Tunes movie.
Yeah.
Here is like all of the anger and hopeful dreams of people wanting a wholly traditionally 2D animated Looney Tunes movie without any of the antics or any humans parts, like live action elements to deal with. It's like none of that. No humans, no live action, no celebrity product placements. It's all Looney Tunes, and that's it. And it just works so well. And that's because they don't overcomplicate things and that they just focus on the strength of the Looney Tunes, which is comedy. Like, if I had to pick a short that this relates to the most, it's that Bugs Bunny Body Snatchers parody.
Oh, yes.
And because it's all about Donald, not Donald, that's an entirely different duck. Daffy and Porky saving the day from an alien invasion that has taken over the people of the world using chewing gum, which is a great way to make for a goofy way for an alien to take control of society with mind control.
It makes the title of the movie make a whole lot more sense.
The punchline at the near the end in the third act that ignites the third act and why the movie is called The Day the Earth Blew Up is so funny. And a lot of that is also because of Peter McNichol's performance as the invader. Like, now, most people would know him more as the lead from the 1980s cult favorite Dragon Slayer, which is just a really freaking good fantasy movie. But people would know him more from maybe Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, because he played X the Exterminator. And it's basically the same voice. He is just saying, yes, I will go at a 12 when you've asked me to go at a 10. And that's how everyone goes at it. Like, everyone is on the same page. And that works out so well. I love the sequence where Porky and Daffy meet Petunia Pig at the diner. Well, first of all, it's a great setup of jokes. Porky seeing Petunia as the most beautiful thing ever, cutting back to what Petunia Pig actually looks like coming out of the rain and such and into the diner. And then when Daffy is just like, oh, yeah, you want a piece of that, don't you? Well,
And he's
don't
talking and
worry.
he's talking about a piece of pie.
Yeah, and like the whole time you think he's going to like be a helpful third wheel to help Porky get laid. And then he's just like, hey chef, how about a piece of that pie for my friend over there? like I said, my screening of it was just filled to the brim with laughter. I think I almost lost my voice that night because of how much we all laughed. And when we get to the whole like they live slash the thing alien invasion part of the story, where like the thematic element is that Porky and Daffy need to stay strong together, and that while Daffy's loony antics, with of course the reference to one of the classic Looney Tunes shorts, Duck Amuck, is used, Porky feels like he can't trust Daffy to do anything. Because granted, Daffy does screw up everything, but that was always the intended point of any of the shorts, new or old, where Porky and Daffy were paired up with one another. Porky was the normal man, Daffy was the silly goose. Well, figurative goose. That dynamic works so well here. It is, even though it is a lot of Eric Bauza talking to himself. From what I recall, Eric Bauza did the voice for Porky first, then Daffy, because Daffy's voice was a little more straining, which understandably,
Yeah.
especially with this version of Daffy. And the twist of like after they stop the plan of the gum surrounding the earth, it is so funny when you realize what the resource is that the invader is talking about. And I love the build up to that because throughout the whole movie, you're wondering what is the resource that we have that this alien wants. And then there's, of course, like, well, what resource do you want? Gold, uranium, smog? It's like, no, I want what, like, y'all have that only this planet has in the entire galaxy. And then this huge cup, like golden statue of Boba Tea pops out of the ship. And the alien goes like, "All hail."
All hail Boba.
But like the punchline, I mean, yes, maybe it's a little goofy that the alien wants boba tea, and I have to agree with Petunia Pig that it's not my favorite thing. And even the movie at the end kind of shares everyone's opinion of like if you are not a fan of boba tea, like I don't know if you heard the line in the background of someone saying like off screen, man, you know what? I liked it more than I thought I would. I thought the boba bubbles tasted like snot at first. It's like,
I
well,
did catch that.
it was a great punchline of this is what the alien wanted. And he was there to actually defend the Earth by making the whole world surrounded by a giant bubble made of gum to have the meteor bounce off it. Because, friggin' Looney Tunes logic, or as how Jellystone explains the science. It's like, and that's how science works. It all makes sense. And the animation for this movie is so lovely. It has so many amazing studios and talented animators working on this. Where I know I saw,
Yep, Snipple. Titmouse did the powerhouse sequence.
and yeah, Snipple is the same studio that helped make that one Scooby Doo direct to video movie that everyone actually loves. And it is, yes, it might be digital 2D animation, but you can tell by the way the characters move that it's all done by hand. It's not done by rigs or motion tweens or whatever. And I hate hate how people 2D animation purists are throwing a fit about the fact that this movie is not doing the ink and paper 2D animation. I kind of want to just strangle those people because, or like, dissect their brains to know what's wrong with them because 2D animation is 2D animation no matter how you make it. And even animation rigs can be done extremely well if the studio and the talent are given the time and money to make them expressive. Some of your favorite recent shows are all probably using animation rigs at some point or another.
Exactly.
And you could probably see maybe a tiny bit of use of them in this movie if you know where to look. But a lot of this movie's animation is done by hand. You can look at behind the scenes work in progress shots and see the fluid, bouncy animation used that only non rig animations can use. Even though you can do the illusion of that, again, that's just a lot of time to put into that aspect. And there are people out there who are all talking about how they want to not support this movie because it's not traditional 2D ink and paper animation, which is not possible to fully do anymore.
Seriously. I
And then there were some knuckleheads who were like, I'm not going to see this until they release Coyote versus Acme. And it's like,
guys,
guys, why do you think it's going to help that movie get released? It's if you see this movie. What is wrong with some of you? Like, I don't mean to be cranky Cam right now, but some of these losers keep moving the goalposts because even though they keep crying about the fact that they want 2D animation, y'all sure as hell don't show up for it.
they really don't, but I also don't want to put too much blame on the audience because apparently this movie has not been, it hasn't been giving like the widest release. I know it's been playing in like at least 2,000 theaters, but Catch-Up Entertainment doesn't have the same marketing budget as the major studios. If you don't know that it's coming out, then you won't be able to see it if you don't know it's coming out. But then that also depends on people like us to spread the word and be like, hey, go see this thing.
Like, I get it. If you can't see it at this moment, I understand if it hasn't released yet in your area. But if it does, or even if you have to wait for the movie to come out on Blu-ray in May, just go watch it. Support it, man. Like, stop putting up these stupid artificial goal posts at times. If you're just going to say, just say you don't actually want to see 2D animation in theaters.
Yeah, at least be honest with how you feel about the medium. Don't try to pretend that you care and then not show up when it actually matters.
Like, I've seen this time and time again these past like decade or so. Like, okay, Teen Titans Go to the Movies came out in theaters. Could have really helped make another like possible final, like true final season for that 2000s Teen Titans show y'all apparently love. Oh, you didn't go see it? Well, too bad. That's not going to happen. Oh, you want mature 2D animation in theaters? Well, you didn't show up for Bob's Burgers, and you didn't show up for Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim. Like, it's not even a quality issue anymore. Some of you just don't show up. And this is just, I'm not aiming this fully at the audience's fault here. I am aiming this at the people who decry and beg for companies that, let's just be real, are not interested in doing 2D animation anymore, no matter how much they dangle the keys in front of us at points like Disney and such. The fact of the matter is, there are not as many trained 2D animators anymore. And the ones that are there are spread out so thin and are only working at certain studios that are allowing it. And like there's a reason why so many amazing looking 2D animated films from like Europe are all like collaborations between different countries because that's where the money and the talent are. And there's just not a whole big demand for it, despite the fact that I want to see 2D animation in theaters, and I'm going to show my support as many ways as I can to see it every time.
Same.
And it's frustrating that people are not showing up for this. And from what I recall, this isn't the most expensive animated film out there. It's like that whole notion of when back in the day, you could just release a $40 million movie, and I think less, and still rake in like $100 million and such.
This movie only had a $15 million budget. And I know originally this was intended for release on streaming, but still, 15 million is not a high bar to clear.
The fact
Like,
that people aren't making it clear that extremely low bar is like, what are we even doing here anymore? Are y'all just really going to complain about the fact that we don't have 2D animated films in theaters anymore while y'all go see every single CGI release just to gritch about it on YouTube? Mind blowing, because it's like it's got everything these lunatics want in their 2D animation. It's 2D animated. It's got voice actors at the helm of the voice cast. It's really just Eric Bauza, Candy Milo, Peter McNichol, Fred Tatasciore, Lorraine Newman, and Wayne Knight shows up as the mayor of the town. Like, that's it. That's the entire thing. There's no like forced Mark Wahlberg cameo or something like that. It's everything these people want, and yet it still isn't enough.
I don't know anymore. Like at this point, I'm starting to lose faith in animation fans who are pretty much only wanting to see 2D animation, but are asking in the most performative fashion. Where me, I see this movie's playing at my local theater. I'm buying a ticket as soon as possible.
Exactly. And understandably, yeah, Catch Up Entertainment needed to do better with marketing and releasing this movie. And I understand they can't spend the same amount of absurd money that Disney's going to burn through with that. Let's be real, it's not going to be a good remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's like sight unseen, I know that movie's not going to be great. And not because of the reasons weird internet incels think it's going to be bad.
Exactly.
And it's just like it's so funny. Like the jokes land so much in this movie. And I still think my favorite jokes are like when Porky Pig, Daffy, and Petunia are about to go onto the meteor Armageddon style or Deep Impact style. Honestly, I get those two mixed up because they're the same kind of movie.
Oh
I think
yeah.
it's Deep Impact. And you see the gag of a fake audience goer getting up. It's like, really? Like, these are our heroes? Yeah. You know what? I'm out. This is stupid. Who greenlit this crap? And as he walked out of the screening, and the whole twist at the end. Porky and Daffy save the day. They make it back to Earth. Petunia gets her amazing gum secret, like ingredient of asteroid rock, which you could just say they're pop rocks, okay? But it's such a Looney Tunes way of saying this is the new flavor, asteroid rock. And I love the jabs at it's like at least it's not just a Mega Berry reboot because that's what a lot of gum is these days. And the fact that they get the Mufasa talking to Simba moment of Farmer Jim saying like telling Porky and Daffy to look at the back of the family photo to find a highly convenient home insurance contract upwards to $5 million. The moment my audience laughed at that whole sequence and punchline reveal, like we were laughing our heads off the whole time anyway, but I think we almost all collectively broke a rib or coughed out our lungs in laughter because it's such a quick and easy way, in the most Looney Tunes way possible, to solve the conflict of Daffy and Porky losing their home and then getting it back.
Oh yeah, that was gold.
It's like, again, so many amazing jokes in this movie. And they don't even clash with the more heartfelt moments of Porky realizing how absurdly harsh he was towards Daffy, even if Daffy's antics were causing some issues in their plans. And I love the scene where instead of doing another, like, oh, they can fit between the laser bars of the prison, they just short circuit all the lasers.
with their tears.
Yeah, and then they're just like, hey, no more lasers. And then the floor falls out from below them. Like it's such a fun movie to watch. This is a great movie to buy on Blu-ray so you can just go through all the little gags and some of the Easter eggs and cameos that you see from Looney Tunes past. And just to really enjoy the performances. Like I love Lorraine Newman's like as Mrs. Gretch and how she is just the worst, most uptight person ever. And the gum mascot asking Wayne Knight's mayor character, he's like, is she always like this? And then just in a most defeated sigh way as possible, the mayor's just like, yeah, yeah.
I also like how Ruth Clampett gets a little cameo as one of the waitresses.
This movie is made with so much passion and love for the Looney Tunes. It's amazing that we don't have more of these. Like if they only cost 15 million, like just make more of them. For some reason we get so many Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies that are so easily forgotten with only a few of them ever actually having like a good premise, some good jokes or whatever. And yet the Looney Tunes are never in that discussion of let's make a Looney Tunes set of direct-to-video movies.
There's only one direct-to-video movie. It's the Bah Humduck. Oh wait, no, I take that back. There's also Sylvester and Tweety Around the World in 80 Days.
And I know there was like a another Tweety and Sylvester direct-to-video movie and a Tasmanian Devil movie that was like oddly like released quietly and forgotten. Even though from what I heard it's actually pretty solid. But it's like you can make Looney Tunes movies with just the Looney Tunes. This movie proves it. We don't need to have them interacting with Michael Jordan or Brendan Fraser, though. Listen, I get why people like Looney Tunes back in action, but to me, those movies still didn't have the full appeal of the Looney Tunes. This is like the ideal Looney Tunes, the perfect Looney Tunes movie.
I would have to agree with that. This is honestly everything that I've wanting ever since I was born, really, because I was born the same month that Cartoon Network was launched. So I have just always grown up with the Looney Tunes. Specifically, I know people love the Chuck Jones shorts. I do too, but the the shorts from the 40s, the Bob Clampett era, that's my jam.
Exactly. And it's weird to see how the Looney Tunes are treated. Like, it's like the studios of today overcomplicate the appeal of Looney Tunes themselves. They don't require a whole lot of thought process into making them appealing. Just think of creative, funny storylines. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Really, the key to the Looney Tunes success is do what the shorts did, but on a bigger scale.
It's amazing how, like, and I wrote an editorial about this recently because I was so annoyed with the Smurfs trailer because I was like, you guys are overcomplicating something so simple here. That is the problem with the current day of Hollywood and who runs the studios. They're trying to fit a square block in a round hole and just forcing it in there, thinking that's what's going to fix and make something like Looney Tunes or the Smurfs super appealing when you don't. need to do so much. You just gotta keep it simple. There's a reason why, like, Asterix and Obelisk stay truly timeless, or as timeless as European cartoons with a mild amount of racism can be. You don't need to modernize them. You just, like, that's why these new shorts were so good, because they just went backwards instead of trying to move forwards. It just worked. So hopefully this does well enough for us to see Coyote versus Acme. And I'm going to be mad that not enough people showed up to it to help it because, yeah, like you said, it's gotten so performative that do you all actually even care about Coyote versus Acme, or are you just wanting to be part of some movement to, like, feel special and wanted? And really, what you can do right now is just go see The Day the Earth Blew Up.
Seriously, just like don't even do it for a cause. Just go because you're going to have a good time.
It's a good movie. It's a funny movie. It's probably going to be the funniest movie of the year until, like, said otherwise, or if something else comes out. Just go see it. Or if you can't see it, it is coming out on Blu-ray in May, or so far as we know, it's coming out in May. Go watch it. Just go watch it. Don't hesitate. Just watch it. Whether it's in theaters, buying the Blu-ray, like, make that Blu-ray sell out fast.
Yes,
Because
that's how you can help. Well,
also, like, that's like the two ways you can help. You either one, watch this in theaters, two, you make that Blu-ray sell out like the fastest thing ever. Sorry, I know, like, this last part was mostly a tangential rant towards animation fans' lack of support for 2D animation, but
we had to get this out of our system because it's been festering for far too long.
so, and it's just like, this movie is so good, y'all. Please go see these good movies in theaters that are getting released. Apparently, like, this is one of the worst performing weeks of any film moment in film history, despite the fact that we have apparently amazing movies out right now. I just haven't seen them yet, but I know that I'll probably enjoy them, like Novocaine, Black Bag, Mickey 17, and such.
This
Like,
is such a great week for movies, but financially it's depressing because the number one movie at the box office didn't even break 10 million.
and it's like, again, do y'all even like original movies anymore? Or are y'all just, again, being performative as hell just to get internet clout, which doesn't actually come with any kind of money or anything like that, y'all? Just, oi. But anyway, go see The Day the Earth Blew Up. It's one of the best things the Looney Tunes have ever done. It's the best Looney Tunes movie. It is just nonstop hilarious, creative, made with so much passion and heart. Just go see it if you can. And if it comes to your theaters this week, go see it. Just go see it. For next week, we are finally going to talk about an indie pilot that has been released and is probably one of my favorite things ever. And we will finally talk about the infamous Win or Lose from Pixar and the third season of Invincible.
That is a good slate. But until next time, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You could find me online at Blue Sky at Cam's Eye View. I have my own website called camseyeview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I am also a writer at Media Magpies where I do a lot of animation based, like, editorials for that site. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.